Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers and a little bit of a rant. No, for once, we're not talking about the stupid on Twitter. Kind of done with it. Just done. Just done. For all the AMP stands that linger around and like to troll my lives, all I have to say to you at this point is a neurodiverse abuse victim by the name of Johnny Depp won. Suck it. Fucking suck it. And get over yourselves. And for the love of God, grow up. Alright, now that I've got that out of the way. So yesterday was fun, folks. So about around 2:34. Out of nowhere, my Cisco, which is one of my programs that, helps me take calls, decided it was going to take a nosedive. And I spent the last hour of my day frantically trying to get my system up, right? I had to call my internet company. I was calling IT for work. It was a freaking nightmare. I pulled up this morning, do a test run, running completely fine. Slightly annoyed, but massively relieved. Okay? Also, about that video, about that death that Matthew Israel tried to lay at our doorstep, you remember, right? When he was talking about the individual that we supposedly just took from JRC callously? Got some tea on that. Shall we? Shall we just? And then we'll get into the usual disclaimers. The individual that they were talking about, his name was James. And let's read this here in the small print, shall we? James was then, removed from JRC against JRC's advice. The advocates who removed him were so hostile to JRC that they refused to even communicate with JRC's medical director about James' medical needs were and refused to discuss JRC's clinicians what his treatment needs were. Oh, here the fuck we go. Okay, never mind. They're gonna blame us as per usual. But you didn't ask us. We could have told you why he needed to be tortured. You didn't even know what his behaviors were. Tell me, JRC, do you know why he was doing the scratching? Can you tell us what was going on in young James's mind that was causing the scratching? No? I thought not. See, it wasn't attention. It wasn't him trying to manipulate anyone. Sometimes self-injurious behavior and stimming become one. You know, when I told you about when I used to slam my hairbrush into my head as hard as humanly possible repeatedly until I drew blood? Yeah. I call that a violent stim. It usually was a precursor to a larger meltdown. Hence, that would be the start. And then we go to the head slamming into the floor and the general damage to inanimate objects. But they're not going to tell you that. And they're not going to tell you what causes the triggering behavior because they don't know. They would rather lay this at our doorstep callously instead of admit the fact that they didn't do their fucking job. See, if I had to choose between if I had to choose between not living or the only way I could live is to be on their fucking torture device, be starved, sleep deprived, and traumatized every day, I'm going to choose death. And yes, I can say that as someone who is an abuse survivor. 3 times over. Just say. All right, in the description box, folks, you're going to find the link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Center doesn't want you to read. It is written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals from all over the world. Again, JRC, all over the world. About their so-called behavioral modification program. Matter of fact, JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much. They have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they do not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused. So, you know the drill. Read that article and share it on all your social media. We also have the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that has and pending. Oh, I forgot. Taking in so-called troubled male teens and pending over 21 allegations and civil lawsuits leveled against it that includes charges such as child abuse, multiple counts of sodomy, sexual assault, and rape. They also have, let's see here, starvation, child trafficking, and that's just for starters. We have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who's still on the premises with full access to the kiddos. We have him up on multiple, substantiated by investigation conducted by the Missouri Department of Social Services, counts of sodomy and sexual assault and rape against the students there. We got an attorney general so up his own ass and up Trump's that he can't seem to figure out how to do his job and how to not lose all the goddamn always. A governor also too busy kissing Trump's ass and touting out mega points instead of doing his actual job. That my state's is a complete fucking clown circus. We're run by the circus. We're run by the damn circus and in the goddamn clowns. Right? Please, folks, share these articles that we have in the description box and all your social media. And don't forget to sign and share the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, and their many, many lies, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones. Also, folks, pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, Autistica Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the link to Jennifer Masumber's behavioral sheet, which shows the lie Matthew Israel's trying to sell you for what it is. These folks were shocked for cursing, shocked for getting up out of their seat longer than 3 seconds, even if it was just to dig the underwear out of their ass, as, all of us do. They were shocked for, look at Andre McCollins, refusing to remove their coat, for stimming. The list goes on. We also have, of course, the templates, the link to the short video taken out of the 7-hour ordeal forced on Andre McCollins, as well as the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? Okay. So now we're going to have JRC blow more smoke up our ass, repeat and regurgitate the same talking points over and over again for over 115 pages. Because the author's strong philosophical opposition to aversives, they referred to the investigation was simply not that. Really? Matthew Israel, are you aware of the fact that investigation included the full 7-hour nightmare that you put Andre McCollins through? Are you aware that it includes his ER documents, as well as testimonies from his mother and the doctors at the ER, the nurses, the clinicians that oversaw him once he was out of your hellhole? Are you aware of the fact that it had included survivor testimonies from former students and current? Are you aware of the fact that it also included in that investigation DESI reports, ones that you filed, no less? It included your own handbook, your training materials, everything that you put out for the world to see. Are you aware that it included the fact that you, Matthew Israel, obstructed justice and actually tried to order your staff to destroy surveillance footage that was demanded of you from the Massachusetts court, which is the reason why, in this very year, you had to step down from being in charge of the JRC? Are you aware of the fact that the people who were conducting this investigation was not just self-advocates, but doctors, clinicians, ABA professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, neurologists, people from all over the medical healthcare spectrum? No, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to continue to tell you it's a philosophical opposition. I don't think that word means what you think it means, doctor. Philosophy is what I read when I pull up the Consolation of Philosophy over there by Boethius. That's philosophy. Reading Plato over there when he was speaking about things other than politics. Philosophy. Okay? That's philosophy. Opposition to aversives is under the well-founded belief that we do not believe that we should be punished for how we are born. We do not think it is right and just to punish us for traits for which we have no control. We do in fact believe that instead, with proper therapy, logic, reasonable accommodations, and assistive devices, that we can overcome these issues as much as humanly possible, that is, by finding the triggering issue instead of believing we know everything and punishing the student for simply existing and reacting as it is within our disability to react. That's not philosophical. It's actually the majority opinion of fucking medical science. When you even have the outdated ableist as fuck medical model on your side calling you out, doctor, it's saying something, isn't it? Here's the fact, folks. If this treatment was actually as wonderful as Matthew Israel says, the medical model wouldn't give a shit if it harmed us or not. It would be widespread. Because the medical model really doesn't give a shit whether they traumatize us, hurt us psychologically or otherwise or not. These are the same bastards that set up studies to blast our brains with fucking radiation. Okay? Our well-being is not really their concern. But if even those bastards are coming up and telling you it's wrong, think about that for a moment. Just think about it. They never visited JRC, never sought to discuss their concerns with the JRC's clinician or staff, never spoke to the hundreds of parents who, are pleased with what JRC has been able to accomplish for their children, never advised JRC of their investigation or invited JRC to respond to their concerns, and never interviewed current or former students who have been pleased with the results of their treatment at the JRC, including the use of adversives. Here we go again. This is JRC's favorite thing in the world to do. Favorite thing in the whole world to do. If you would just listen to us, we could throw propaganda at you. We could try to batter you down with clinicians and doctors who know better than you. You don't understand what's good for you. Yeah. Same song and dance over and over again for 115 pages. It's bullshit, folks. Can I tell you about parents? Remember, I've worked in the field here. A good majority of the parents, good majority of them, are good, decent human beings. They want to make sure they get the best and most ethical treatment for their child. Many of them, especially out in my state, as soon as person-centered planning became available, got their kids signed up for it. And in spite of what the doctor will tell you about how it's a philosophy and not an actual treatment program, speaking as someone who's been on that particular program since the moment I got out of high school till now, I can tell you it fucking works. It's not a philosophy. It's an actual treatment program. I know this because I'm on it. Okay? They're going to tell you about the hundreds of parents that they had fucking brainwashed and had drink the Kool-Aid. Again, let me tell you something about parents, the medical model, and how they feed into JRC's bullshit. Let me explain to you how this is going to go. The fucking moment that the parents are given the diagnosis of their child, they are given a pamphlet on ABA therapy. The very second. We as a society are conditioned to believe whatever our doctors tell us. Very few of us actually question it. They are not likely to give you pamphlets on any other type of treatment program. That is something that if a parent wants it, they'll have to do research for themselves. The parent just assumes the doctor knows best and that ABA is going to work perfectly for their child. It's not the case, folks. Not the case at all. When ABA doesn't work, and in fact the behaviors become worse, shocker, our traits become a lot worse, our behaviors become worse when stressed, overwhelmed, or especially when we go into that special pit of self-loathing that programs like ABA make us sink to, because you all make us believe that we in and as ourselves as autistic human beings will never be accepted or loved. And in order to do that, we have to earn that love by forcing neurotypicality on ourselves every second of every goddamn day. All that pressure, that self-loathing, that depression, you better fucking believe that those traits are going to get worse, not better. And then the JRC is going to swoop in. Most of these parents are exhausted by this point. Nobody's come along to tell them about other treatment programs. These folks don't know about person-centered planning. They don't know about positive reinforcement. They don't know about OT, PT, or anything. I know because I've worked in the field and I've sat these folks down while these kids are doing intake and I've gone over the many treatment programs and many different places that they could take their kid to cater to their kids' specific needs. Their doctors do not tell them anything about any of the other programs and treatments out there. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Okay? No, they try ABA first. Then they tried a bastardized version of positive behavioral reinforcement. And when that, as JRC says, doesn't work, they then put them on the shock device. And oh my gosh, crazy, they traumatize them into not harming themselves. And because all of a sudden the behaviors are gone, parents never question it. The few parents are due are far in between, but the parents never question it because what they wanted happened. They don't want to know how it occurred. They don't care if it's been traumatized out of the child, the behaviors has stopped. Nobody will take a moment to sit in silence and think about if this device was taken, the fact that the behaviors will come back and they will be worse than ever before because stress, pressure, torture, fear, anxiety, paranoia, PTSD. Of course, those behaviors will come back. Because on top of the original triggering issues that were causing the scary behaviors, they now got a whole new list of new psychological ones to top those off. But we're not going to talk about that, are we, JRC? We're not going to talk about, in spite of you being behavioral psychologists, we're not going to talk about how your actions contribute to the behaviors becoming worse once they come off the device. Parents don't want to hear it either, folks. They want the problem fixed. They don't want to know how it gets done. They just want it done. We live in a society of immediate results. Medicine doesn't instantly fix it. We're immediately looking for that other fix, aren't we? Majority of the people don't want to take the time and put in the work to do it right. You want that instant quick fix. It's not how autism treatment works. Not how therapy is supposed to work. Or even not how medications are supposed to work. Believe me, I would know. Okay? But the JRC is going to tell you, if you would just watch our videos, if you would just take the guided tour and let us explain to you like you are a stupid moron who's never gone to college for this shit, and let us explain to you like you're stupid while we're better and smarter than you and we know what's best for you, then we could tell you. And we can address any of your concerns with our condescending, completely utter pseudoscience and bullshit. Okay? The fact of the matter is, if you take 2 seconds to think about it, replacing self-injurious behavior with having someone else harm you instead, how does that fix anything? All it does is switch from me hurting myself to you hurting me. What changes? I'm still getting hurt, aren't I? So what are we fixing here? Nothing. Remember, I've talked about the fact that someone with self-injurious behavior will know electricity is going to stop them from being able to physically do anything. It's electricity. Don't think that one of those folks wouldn't actually act up. Remember, Jennifer Masumba has talked about this. How she would get so anxious, never knowing when the next hit was going to come, that she would act up on purpose to get it over with. Right? Right? So in fact, instead of stopping the behavior, they actually caused the behavior to happen by putting her in that manic, anxiety-ridden state of mind. That is the failings of his device. But they're not going to tell you that, are they? They're not going to tell you that parents don't always know best. And there's reasons behind that, because parents are not always given all the information, especially not the parents and kids that they prey on. Yes, we're talking about the fact that the JRC likes to prey on poor minority communities. People who have zero access outside their school system to any of the other programs and treatments that are out there for their kiddos. They don't even know they exist. The only thing they have access to is ABA through their public school system. So remember when I say they haven't actually tried everything? This is exactly what I mean. We got a real problem with access to proper treatments and supports out in poor minority communities. It is a massive problem. And that's how kids like this end up in hellholes like the JRC. You know what I mean? But we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the fact that the JRC bases their whole fucking system based off of the false premise that is behind ABA, which is this general assumption that we are trying to manipulate or get attention. We're not going to talk about nothing is done to get to the triggering issues so that they can be dealt with. See what I'm saying? We're not going to talk about the fact that those doctors, those clinicians, those nurses, those direct care staff, all of those are being paid by JRC. You really think that those folks are going to not toe the line? Really think these folks are going to tell you, actually, no, this is insane. Take your child and run? No. Come on now. Come on now. What I am going to believe, and what most parents should believe, is when a non-biased, independent party that has zero affiliation with JRC whatsoever, when they come in and do an objective investigation into the school, and they put out a report listing the atrocities one right after the fucking other. And on these teams, when you've got doctorate level, master level degrees, psychologists, psychiatrists, neurologists, social workers, clinicians, direct care staff, the whole 9 yards. The whole 9 fucking yards. Like the New York Department for Special Education, for example. And they tell you in great detail the insanity these monsters get up to. You should take their word for it, because they are going to provide you with links to the evidence so that you can look at it for yourself. Don't go to the JRC, because like most people with caught with their pants down, all they're going to do is try to cover their ass. Go to the independent investigations that have been done on this place. If you think the MDRI is too biased right off the get-go, go read that New York report. Go read that Rhode Island report. Go read that report from California. Go read the DESE reports. All of that is linked in Autistic Hoya's massive archive. Go see what Safety has to say. Go see what ARC has to say. Easter Seals, March of Dimes. people that had no skin in the game, no skin in the game whatsoever. Those groups, those investigations, each done independently from one another, are the ones that you should be listening to, not Dr. Israel. Speak to doctors and clinicians that work outside of the JRC, and they will tell you how batshit it is. Okay? This is not about a philosophy against adversives. This is about real fucking medicine. Something that Matthew Israel has no fucking business practicing. In fact, if we could yank Andrew Wakefield's license to practice medicine for his insane anti-vax bullshit, why the hell is Matthew Israel at this point in time, and why the hell is JRC at this point in time still allowed to conduct treatment? Something to think about. We're going to close out on that this morning. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. As always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.